I'm going to tell you a story, and I was in two minds whether to tell this story or not, because it's quite a personal thing. It cuts quite deep with me, and it's a story about a dog, one of my dogs, a dog called Storm. And you'll have to excuse me, every now and again I'm going to have to throw a ball to keep these three interested. So Storm was an English Springer Spaniel that he came to me about 13 years ago now, and I had him as a puppy, and from a very early age he was incredibly difficult to handle. He was stubborn, he was obstinate, everything that you didn't really want in a working dog. But he was Storm, and he was my dog, and I thought the world of him. And they do say in the gun dog world that every now and again, or sometime in your lifetime, you'll have a dog that's one in a million. Dog of a lifetime. And Storm was certainly that for me. And I've got these three, and I had one other one at another point in time, and they're all equally important to me, but Storm was just something a bit special. Anyway, he was very difficult. Ellie, he was very difficult to handle, and that's how he was. And I honestly, I wouldn't have had him any other way. And if you knew him and how hard he worked, that was all part of his makeup. And when Storm was about 10 years old, he retired from the shooting field. I used to shoot. I don't shoot anymore, but at the time I used to shoot, and he used to come out with me, and he'd work incredibly hard. He was such a good dog. And anyway, he'd retired, which is fine. And one morning, we were out in this wood, not 200 meters away from here, just up the track. I could probably see the point. Literally, if I got onto the track, I could see the exact spot where this incident happened. And I had these three with me at the same time, and Storm, and an older dog called Holly, who sadly passed away now. And up on the track there was a deer carcass. It's a deer there's a road that runs just along here, and the deer had been knocked over, I think, and somebody had dragged it off the track, off the road, and just put it in the bushes. And I saw the carcass. We were walking along the track just over the other side here, and we were looking, and I could see it, and I thought, let's avoid it, because I know what Storm's like. He'll want to look at it. So we cut away. We went down into the woods, and we went off on our walk. Abby, we went off on our walk. We were out there for about, good girl. We were out for about 45 minutes or an hour or so. I had my camera with me, and like I say, I had the other four dogs as well. And as we were walking along the bottom track, Storm decided he could smell this dead deer, and he ran up the track straight to where the deer was. I tried to stop him, I tried to recall him, but as I said, he was an incredibly stubborn dog, and he wasn't having any of it. He was going to go and check this deer out. I was in hot pursuit behind him, and it was a short distance from the bottom of the track where we were to the top of the track where the deer was, and we I ran up the track after him, got to him just as he approached the deer. And it had been there a while, this deer. It's quite rotten. And I called him off of it. And he came away, fed. And he came away from it. And good girl. And he laid down on the floor about 5 or 6 feet away from the deer. And I knew something was wrong. And what had happened is his tongue started to swell. And you've got the flap of skin, like between your own tongue and your mouth, that joins. That was swelling up. And when I say it was swelling up, it wasn't swelling up a little bit. It was enormous. Absolutely huge. It was, that flap of skin must have swollen up 10 or 15, maybe 20 times its normal size. It was hanging out the side of his mouth. Storm was a big dog. He was 25 kilos when he was at his best. So big for a spaniel, but he came from Scotland and they breed them big up there. They're old school spaniels. And I had the other 4 skipping around my legs. I had my camera in one hand. I couldn't carry him. It was just too much to carry. So I got him to walk as quickly as I could, but knowing something was wrong, without wanting to stress him even more. And we walked back to my car, which was about 200 meters that way. So it was about a 400 meter walk, maybe a little bit less. And by the time we got back to the car, he was in serious trouble, having difficulty breathing and what have you. And it was on a Saturday in April. And I got him into my car, literally picked him up and just put him in the back. Got the other 3 in, rung my vets, and I said to them, I've got a serious situation. I'm on my way. And it normally takes me about 15 minutes to get to my vet. And they're in a company called Manor Farm Vets at Codford, and they're incredibly good. And I'm still with them even today. And I got to the end of the road. There was some major road works going on there, and I couldn't get out. There was 3-way traffic lights. Meanwhile, Storm was continuing to struggle. When I did get out, it took me probably close to half an hour to get there, to cover a trip that should have taken 15 minutes. Ellie. As I got there, good girl. As I got there, the vet nurse came out and she said, I'll take him. And I said, no, I'll take him. And I reached into the back, picked him up, left the others in the car, and rushed him into the surgery, put him on the table. And by then he was unconscious by that point. And they started to work on him. And all the time I was talking to him, telling him he could do it, telling him he was strong. And the vet tried to intubate him, and they couldn't even get a tube down his throat to intubate him. And so she she got a syringe and a needle. She put it into his tongue to try to presumably suck any poison that was in there, tried to suck it out. At that point, the nurse said he stopped breathing, and she started CPR. At this point, all I could do is watch. And after, I don't know, 5 minutes, I guess, I don't know, time kind of stands still. Abby. They stopped the CPR, and the vet listened for a heartbeat, and she looked at the nurse, and she gave the nurse, oh, I remember this so clearly, she gave the nurse her stethoscope. The nurse listened, and they both just shook their heads. And she said he's gone. And I remember saying, oh no. And I just dropped to my knees at that point. I just couldn't believe it. He was so strong. And the vet came up to me and she said, you need a hug. And I don't know if that made it worse or better, but at that point I was just a mess. I was an absolute mess. And that was the end of him. So what happened? For sure we don't know. My strong belief is that he went up to the deer carcass and there was either a wasp or wasps in it, or maybe a hornet. My gut feeling is it was a hornet. Hornets will certainly feed on rotten meat, and the fact that it all happened so quickly, the swelling was within seconds. It was like 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. It was crazy fast. I didn't have an autopsy. There didn't seem any point. It doesn't change the outcome. And I remember the whole time, from the point that he got, from the point that the swelling started, to the point that the vet said, or just before that point when the vet said he's gone, I was absolutely fine. My adrenaline was so high that I could have coped with anything. But when the vet called it, I must have had a massive outflow of adrenaline, if that's such a thing. And my emotions just exploded. The vet rung me later in the evening to make sure I'd got home okay. She was so good. They're an incredibly good vet. Incredibly good. Fan. And whilst Storm will never be replaced, he'll equally never be forgotten. And I'm incredibly lucky because before we lost Storm, I mated him with this young lady here. This is Fen. On 2 occasions, and we had 2 litters from him. And these 2 girls, Abby, come here. This is his eldest daughter, Abby, who's incredibly like him in her size and her look, aren't you? And this is Ellie, his youngest daughter, who's nothing like him, but is a lovely girl. So his legacy goes on. He definitely won't be forgotten by me, although they probably don't remember him. And Fen probably doesn't care because that was her mate, but dogs are dogs. And that's the story, really. Good girl. Dead. Come here, Fen. Fen. Come here. Come here. Good girl. So these are my girls. But there'll never be another Storm. Will there, girls? Good girls.